I'd like to think that if I had a brother, I'd love him and admire him, and he'd love me and maybe admire me a little too. I'd like to think that we'd stick up for each other, have each other's backs. But I'd like to think that having a brother wouldn't make me stupid, or maybe I should say delusional, which brings us to this guy on the right, Jeb Bush, and that amazing moment during Wednesday's Republican Snark Fest. Anyway, here was Jeb Bush having to listen to this other guy, Donald something, attacking Jeb's brother George for the mess George supposedly made of America's foreign policy while he was president. George's failures, this Donald person was saying, made Barack Obama's election possible. In Republican circles, there is no greater insult. So naturally, Jeb Bush was going to defend his brother. That's what brothers do, right? Until you heard what he said. You know what, he said? As it relates to my brother, there is one thing I know for sure. He kept us safe. I don't know if you remember, Donald. You remember the rubble? You remember the firefighter with his arms around him? He sent a clear signal that the United States would be strong and fight Islamic terrorism, and he did keep us safe. You see a problem with that statement? There's the picture, George Bush and the fireman and the rubble. And the rubble. The rubble that just a few days earlier was the World Trade Center, brought down on George Bush's watch. And that's Jeb's proof that brother George kept us safe? Really? Oh, but 9/11 was the only attack on American soil during that whole time, someone's thinking. Right. And other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? He kept us safe. Sure, if you're willing to forget the nearly 3,000 people who died that day and the thousands more Americans who died in the war we had to fight in Afghanistan, and especially in brother George's ginned-up war against Saddam Hussein and Iraq. A war, don't forget, that also opened the door to regional domination by Iran. Now, you can certainly argue that Barack Obama hasn't done nearly as good a job of cleaning up that Middle East mess as he might have, but that's George Bush standing in the rubble. He kept us safe. Sometimes even brotherly love asks too much.